contentment in my Father's house today. Lots of food is on his table, and no one is turned away. There is singing and laughter as the hours pass by, but a hush comes the singing as the Father sadly cries. My house is full, but my field is empty.
It's a blessed Thursday for us, and as the elder has rightly put, as we are learning more at the feet of Jesus, the theme being in sync with the Maker, a biblical and scientific exposition about nutrition and health. And we're also grateful with our viewers online and us who have made it to come in time such that we may hear more about nutrition and health. So the title today is How to Spot a Fake. How to spot a fake. So there's an old adage or an old proverb which says that there will always be many fake things, but the best way to know what is fake is to study more the original. So there's actually been questions around what is the original. If you go into the Bible to Jeremiah 6 verse 16, it says, "This is what the Lord says, stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths, ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls." So realize that every time when God was talking to the Israelites, when they had wandered astray, God will always remind them that go back to the old what? To the old ways. And you actually see this phrase of old ways is also a scientific meaning. You'd realize that when we are talking about nutrition and health, the great question is what has changed is the environment. But our ancestors, they were eating very well. Our ancestors were running. So there's actually a diet for hunter-gatherers which is called the paleo diet. So people are saying if only we could go back to that era where we would live in such environments, then all these diseases, these non-communicable diseases, the diseases that are associated with lifestyle will actually be a history. But people who critically look at these things are saying it might not be possible. Because what you'd realize is back then, the animals were just mating on their own. But come now to agriculture, we actually even select the breeds that we want. Hello? They would just go and gather fruits that are growing naturally. But here we even do breeding of the types of seeds so there's so much human control involved. And also if you're going to look that back then, there were no industry. Pollution was actually minimum. So the environment that was then and the environment that is now is very different. So with this in mind and many other reasons around, people are actually saying it's difficult for us to go there. So what should we do? We are now trapped in an environment that we cannot run away from. We are now in an environment that is promising even to modernize far much better. Hello? I mean, we can even check in what's even being proposed, that maybe you just go at your house. Hello? You even go at the door and you say open, it opens on its own automatically. Everything is automated. When you even sit, you tell it, it asks you, hello, how has been your day? My day has been fine. What music do you want me to play for you? Then you say, maybe I want classical music. So classical music is now being played in the background. So your menus are even automated. Which meal do you want today? Maybe I want this vegetarian pizza. Then it's now making the vegetarian pizza. Then while you are seated, everything is just automated and the automation has been done in there. So this advert is so nice to the point that now this owner of the house, because it rained, so he catches a cold. So he now comes to the door now. His voice is what? It's changed. Then he says, open. It cannot open. Open. Then he's locked out. Then suddenly, I don't know, it opens, then it gets in. So it's now even not responding very well because of the code that the owner of the house had actually received. So there are many ways in which people are saying modernity is actually going to increase and more good things are going to come. And maybe we will not be able to go back to these old days. But another question comes, are we really correct when we are saying that in the older times it was better? Because if you realize mortality or childhood mortality was even high, and it's only due to now the programs that are there in which mortality is actually decreasing. So it's still like just mythical because there is no strong evidence to validate. Maybe we're not even measuring those diseases. Maybe the technology was not there. How are we so sure? Remember, if we read in the Bible, God tells the Israelites that I will not allow the diseases of Egypt to be what? Amongst you. So implying that even in the olden times, people were still suffering from what? From sicknesses. So what should we do? Remember the cry of Elijah. Is there no balm in what? In Gilead. So Elijah then says now in Jeremiah 46 verse 11, he says, go up to Gilead and take balm, O virgin daughter of Egypt. In vain you have used many medicines. There is no healing for you. So Jeremiah was asking previously yesterday as we read that he was asking questions, is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? But later on he is now saying, speaking to Egypt, and he's saying, in vain have you used many medicines. There is no healing for you. So what Jeremiah is trying to say us, for us to get healing, we need to go back to what? To Gilead. We need to go back amongst the children of what? Of God. Hasn't God shown anything that is of paramount and health benefits amongst the what? The children of God. So who are these children of God? You realize that people are so eager to understand how can we live longer. And many even people who are not Adventists, this is a question that they are eagerly seeking to find answers to. But let's hear what they are saying.
My editor at Geographic wanted me to find America's blue zone, and for a while we looked on the prairies of Minnesota, where actually there's a very high proportion of centenarians, but that's because all the young people left. So we turned to the data again, and we found America's longest lived population among the Seventh-day Adventists concentrated in and around Loma Linda, California. Adventists are conservative Methodists. They celebrate their Sabbath from sunset on Friday till sunset on Saturday, a 24-hour sanctuary in time, they call it. And they follow 5 little habits that conveys to them extraordinary longevity, comparatively speaking. In America here, life expectancy for the average woman is 80, but for an Adventist woman, their life expectancy is 89, and the difference is even more pronounced among men who are expected to live about 11 years longer than their American counterparts. Now, this is a study that followed about 70,000 people for 30 years, sterling study, and I think it supremely illustrates the premise of this Blue Zone project. This is a heterogeneous community. It's white, black, Hispanic, Asian. The only thing they have in common are a set of very small lifestyle habits that they follow ritualistically for most of their lives. They take their diet directly from the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, where God talks about legumes and seeds, and on one more stanza about green plants, ostensibly missing his meat. They take this sanctuary in time very serious. For 24 hours every week, no matter how busy they are, how stressed out they are at work, where the kids need to be driven, they stop everything and they focus on their God their social network, and then hardwired right in the religion are nature walks. And the power of this is not that it's done occasionally. The power is it's done every week for a lifetime. None of it's hard. None of it costs money. Adventists also tend to hang out with other Adventists. So if you go to an Adventist party, you don't see people swilling Jim Beam or rolling a joint. Instead, they're talking about their next nature walk, exchanging recipes, and yes, they pray. But they influence each other in profound and measurable ways. This is a culture that has yielded Ellsworth Wareham. Ellsworth Wareham is 97 years old. He's a multimillionaire. Yet when a contractor wanted $6,000 to build a privacy fence, he said, for that kind of money, I'll do it myself. So for the next 3 days, he was out shoveling cement and hauling poles around. And predictably, perhaps, on the fourth day, he ended up in the operating room. But not as the guy on the table, the guy doing open heart surgery. At 97, he still does 20 open heart surgeries every month. Ed Rawlings, 103 years old now, an active cowboy, starts his morning with the swim, and on the weekends he likes to put on the boards, throw up rooster tails. And then Marge Deton. Marge is 104. Her grandson actually lives in the Twin Cities here. She starts her day with lifting weights. She rides her bicycle, and then she gets in a root beer-colored 1994 Cadillac Seville and tears down the San Bernardino Freeway, where she still volunteers for 7 different organizations. I've been on 19 hardcore expeditions. I'm probably the only person you'll ever meet who rode his bicycle across the Sahara Desert without sunscreen. But I'll tell you, there was no adventure more harrowing than riding shotgun with Marge Deton. A stranger's a friend I haven't met yet, she'd say to me.
So as we can see there, I mean, it is not Adventists who are actually studying Adventist. So this guy called Dan Buettner actually works for the National Geographic. And as you are saying, he was given a grant, oh money, go and study people who live the longest. So as he was looking in America, he actually realized that the people in Loma Linda live the longest. But it's not only people in Loma Linda. If you check in more of his work that he has done, there are people who live in Japan, in a place called Okinawa. Then there are even many other hotspots where you find people that age very well. People who get to 100 and they don't even have diabetes. Hello? 100. The person does not have high blood pressure. 100. The person is working. At 102, someone is surfing. But you'd realize that us, when we look at 50, our body is now giving up. There are people here, if you're going to ask your age, how old are you? You don't even want to say your age. But it's the whole idea is we are aging quickly. But what we are seeing here is people are being amazed by Adventists. And do you hear what he says? They don't do this for a short time. But this, they do it for a what? For a lifetime. And did you check the statistics as they are saying that even Adventist men live 11 years more than other men in what? In America. But you realize this does not apply to all Adventists. Because some even die earlier than non-Adventists. But it only applies to people who adhere to these Adventist life principles. So the question comes to mind, how did Adventists come to get this message? If tomorrow we actually are going to go deeper into the work or the studies that have been done, but I like one study that Dan Buettner mentioned, whereby 70,000 people in Loma Linda in Canada were followed for 30 years. When they got to that statistics that Adventists live 11 years or longer, that study took 30 years. No wonder I like Ellen White when she says that true science is in harmony with inspiration. So what makes us, actually me, what makes me even love to be an Adventist is mainly also because of our health message. It's actually like a replica as what we see here. Like when you look at the roots, where does this message come from? We know that in 1863, many people were dying. Our pioneers were dying. And most of them were always sick. Then Ellen White receives visions about the health message, when she's talked about the harmful effects of tobacco, the harmful effects of alcohol, issues about eating meat, and she then starts to receive a series of of visions. Then later on, Ellen White writes a lot about this. There's a compilation of the counsels of Ellen White regarding diet, and many other books, Ministry of Healing and the like. And what's so interesting is even nutrition professors have even taken time to study what she was saying, and they've come to a conclusion that she was far ahead of her time. Actually, people say her message was a century in advance. Remember when we were talking on Monday about death in the pot, we're saying that meat causes cancer. So remember, Ellen White started writing about this in the 19th century. And most people would read her quotations when she says that meat has germs that cause cancer. Then people were saying, meat, the germs of meat causing cancer. This is not factual. I mean, she didn't even have a secondary education. Hello? She was just hit by a stone and she could not proceed more with her education. But God chose her because God said, I want to use the weakest of the of the weak, such that his power and glory can actually be seen. So later now, just around 2015, the World Health Organization came out and says, indeed, eating meat causes cancer. But we already had these things already in our books. So even the issue of salt, there are many things that she started saying, even when nutritionists or other health people were not saying. But later on, they just came into to validate. So this actually comes in line that her message is not her message, but it's actually a message from God. Remember even what Dan Buchanan was saying, that Adventists follow this lifestyle because of Genesis 1 verse 26. So we are saying, instead of going to the hunter-gatherer, let's go back to the to the Creator. The moment we are in sync with what God wants us to live, how God wants us to eat, would realize that health will actually become easier and more attainable. Remember even John writing in 3 John 2, he says, Beloved, I wish that you might prosper in your health as your spirit prospers. So God is not only interested in us growing spiritually, but actually being healthy, because he has come to give us life and to give us more abundantly. But how do we come to actually practice these principles? This is the great questions of many. Have you ever realized that truth, sometimes it doesn't set you free? Hello? Paul exclaims, that which I want to do, I do not. Like, so he's saying, I'm knowledgeable. I know that this thing is wrong, but I find myself doing it. Then he cries, oh wretched man that I am. Who shall deliver me from this body of of death? So most of us, we find that once in a while, our cravings drive us to do things that are not right. So how can we win this battle? Is there really a strategy? Remember, yesterday we talked about the disadvantages of you going on a diet. Because if you go on a diet, because you are so guilty and full of shame, there's a high chance that you only be there for like 6 months. And we know 95% of all the diets fail. And because they fail, you regain weight, even weight which was more than the one that you had before. So how can we make sure that we do this very well? So the first point, which is the first and the last, remember Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, is we need to trust in God. You see, we are gifted. Actually, it's a privilege that we are Christians. Because we realize that we need a Savior. You see, Christ loved us whilst we were yet sinners. So what happens is people see you gaining weight. It is your loved one, even like what we were saying yesterday. And your loved one is saying, just be serious. I never married a woman such as big as this. You should control what you are eating. And people try to even put pressure on you. But God is just saying, save him this year also. Maybe one day you would learn this and that and that. And I'll come and show him or her how to live what is right. What am I trying to say? We cannot do anything good on our own. Do you see the difference between the devil and God? Is the devil will always show you your weaknesses. And he has to exaggerate them so much, such that you feel at the end that there's nothing that I can do. I mean, I've tried to diet, I gain weight, I do this, I gain weight. So let me just live as is. Hello? But Christ is there to actually give us that strength such that we can actually achieve good habits. So the greatest failure, actually the greatest medication, that if someone could make, then most of the diseases would have disappeared, is the ability to change behavior. Do you know that we all know what is wrong? Most people know what is wrong, but they don't know how to change behavior. That's why God is, or Christ is saying, come unto what? Unto me. So the first point that I want to highlight is, you are not in this on your what? On your own. There is someone who's willing to give you a helping what? Hand. So the first thing, maybe after this health week has ended and you're saying, I want to live right. The first thing is not to rush and touch food. The first thing is to come at the feet of what? Of Jesus. And say, Lord, here I am. I know I love these foods. I know they are wrong. But one thing that I know, with you, I can what? I can overcome. Did you realize in the Bible, there are many illustrations, like the illustrations of the lepers. There's this leper who sees Christ doing what? Miracles. And he sees himself with all that leprosy, knowing that it is incurable. But the longer he looks at Christ, the deeper he has the conviction that this man can actually make me clean and whole again. And do you know what the leper does? The leper approaches Christ and he says, if thou will, you can make me what? Clean. And Christ says, I will, be thou what? Clean. And immediately the leper was what? Was cleansed. So what am I trying to indicate here is, when we start any change, we need to first start with God. God is there to help us. Many people have failed. Actually, why we see these things not working is God is not in the what? In the equation. Right, let me share a testimony. So I remember I grew up in an Adventist family. So while I was growing up in the Adventist family, you always hear about health and all that. But it's not something that used to really touch me. I mean, you just hear about it and you are eager even to find weapons to attack people who are advocating such sentiments. So lo and behold, it happened when I was 12 years. I was in a baptismal class and I was supposed to be baptized. So, but growing up in an Adventist family, that conviction was not my own. It was just, you have attended baptismal class, so by this time you need to be what? To be baptized. So I remember the preacher preached, and after the preacher preached, I stood up as the candidates were going to be baptized. But lo and behold, when people were actually walking in the line to get to the baptismal pool, I did not go there. So while I did not go there, I'm 12 years. Next year, I'm what? 13. So it means I'm now starting what? Secondary school. So secondary school, my father then was not Adventist, but my mother was, and my other relatives were. So I was sent to a Roman Catholic school. Fast forward, 4 years later, I've never even gone into an Adventist church. One day, lo and behold, I come home. So my father always thought I'm this disciplined son. You know, I'm emulating me. I'm always hardworking at school and all that. But one day when I was going through the trunk, my trunk from school, going through the things, he saw things that really moved his heart. Then he says, what are these things? Then no, Mina, I cannot now explain what says. No. You've not been going to church. But my father does not go to church. Eh? So he starts the church issue. So in my culture back then, you know, parents can beat you at any age. Hello, it doesn't matter. You are a child, even when you are married, they can do it. So the fear to me was like, hey, I'm going to be given a serious hiding here. But my father did not. I mean, my father has this aspect that every time I did anything that was out of the norm, he never even exercised his hand. But I mean, I don't know where he got those. So my father was thinking about it. What should I do with this young man? So then second day, then he says, you are going to church. So the punishment for me was to go to church or else get the hiding. So there I go with my cousin, just saying, we are just going there to, just for the old man to be happy. We should not stress the old man. Let's make him ease his heart. Lo and behold, I entered into the church doors. The moment I just stepped my foot there, the music was being sung. I started to remember these songs when I was young. I sat there and the preacher was preaching, but that day was just different. That day, the message was actually speaking to my heart. And I remembered all those years that I was not in the church. Lo and behold, a call was made. I even stood up. So then my cousin is saying, no, this guy is really getting interested in these things. So my cousin is following, I'm following. So a crusade was being done, then it was wound up. The guy even asked people who want to be baptized. I was baptized. So my father now says, I'm the one who made you go to church. Eh? because it's me who said you should go to church. But one thing that then reflected in me was from that day, I realized the blunder that I had made. My parents had done well, raising me in the Adventist faith. And the blunder that I did, I was someone who, like, when you have the information, but you delay to make a committed decision. So I realized that the greatest blunder that I did was I should have been baptized that day. If I'd been baptized that day, maybe my life would have been different. All those 4 years that I wasted would have never happened. So starting there in 2001, I was now someone where if I go to church, if someone says a certain message that I'm not doing, I'll first, even when I don't understand it, I'll first practice it. Then learn it on the what? On the way. Lo and behold, a guy is there during Sabbath school. The lesson was not even about health. Then the guy says, God does not want us to eat meat. I mean, he just said God. He didn't even say Ellen White. Lo and behold, I went home and I told my sister, this is the last day that I'm eating meat. My sister laughed. Of the other things that you have tried, this you are going to fail. Actually, don't come again and now ask meat from us. Because just be honest. I mean, just eat meat like us. I mean, and there were even a testimony of other sisters of mine who had tried vegetarianism and they had come back. But there I was, feeling bad about not quickly making decisions. So I just told myself, when this was saying those things, I could even believe with her. I could not see myself that I could spend years and years without not eating meat. So I told myself that it's only for tonight. Then another thought then says, maybe just eat the meat today only. Then you start to tomorrow. But because my sister had said so, I did not eat meat. First day, second day, third day, fourth day, week. It's now close to a month. I meet another guy, he's talking about sugar. Wow. I'm now removing sugar. Then my father saw me now, he says, it was meat. Now it's sugar. I mean, people are indoctrinating you at church. My father is the one who said, go to church. But when you see these drastic changes, it's a problem. So my father gave me this scenario. Young men, just imagine this. People come into our home. I'm eating my drumstick. You are eating beans. How do people interpret such a scenario? I'm there eating. Don't they say that I'm a father who ill-treats children? Who eats only meat and children eat what? Beans. You grew up eating meat. You eat meat. So it's a debate. Then my father said, it's a simple story, Tinashe. We're going to settle it this way. You grew up eating meat. So he talked to elders. Elders came and said, no, don't worry. Young people usually become too zealous. Just give him time. You let go of this thing. So my father waits a month. I'm on the wheel. Then my father comes now and he says, no, enough is too much. This is what we're going to do. We are going to buy a goat. And when you have bought a goat, it's not for everyone. It's just for you and me. When you are braaiing there, and we are going to eat it, me and what? And you. And my father was serious. He left home. So we're staying in this place in Zimbabwe called Chitungisa. So there's a location called Unit D. So there they used to sell some goats there. So my father goes there wanting to buy a goat. That is the time that I now turned to God. Then I'm like, God, I started this journey because it was of what? Of you. I never even saw that I could make these months, but because I've been relying on you, look now, if my father is going to make me bride, this is end of story. How can I need to be there. I need to respect my parent. So as I was thinking and praying about this, I was worried and all that. And everyone at home is also worried. Should it even get to these levels? Why can't he just allow you? But anyway, the old man had said his word. He went. So while he's there and he sees the goats, he wants to buy it. I don't know what happened. But lo and behold, he came home with no goat. So when he came home with no goat, he quickly went into the bedroom. So when he went into the bedroom, then people are so inquisitive. What happened? What happened? He's not saying anything. Then lo and behold, the mother then comes and tells us, no, Daddy's money was stolen. So why my father was hiding? It's because at one time my mother was in Harare, the capital city. So this is Unit D. It's not the capital. It's just like a small castle or a small location. But my mother was in Harare, the big town. And as she was getting out of the bus, there are those guys who quickly held their handbag, cut it out, took money, and they ran away. So my father was always laughing at my mom. How can you, with how old you are, how can people steal from you in Harare? So now my father's money was not stolen from him in a big city, but actually in a not even a city, a small location. So because he was now hiding and all that. But lo and behold, as I prayed, my father even changed his perception. My father even started buying foods for me about this. And I was doing like that because I'm now so much interested about food and health. Lo and behold, I found myself now very much interested even in wanting to study it. So when I went to A-level, to university, it was so clear I only wanted to do nutrition. And God has ever been good since, making me even rise higher and higher, just because I'm fascinated about his good and the benefits that we see from this diet. Right, so why did I say this story? The key issue that I want to emphasize, every change that is sustainable needs to involve God in the what? In the context. If we do it on our own, there are high chances that we are going to fail. So let's just quickly summarize the points and then we go home. So there are just 10 brief points that we need to summarize. We summarize what Ellen White says about diet in health. So the first point is, do not go on a diet. It's a lifestyle. So do not be worried. Maybe this is something that happens. You might not be like me, that you just start once and you do it. Hello? God even healed people differently. I know I have stories of people who did up and down. They eat, they break, they eat, they bake, but they quickly got into the what? Into the mold. And up to now, they are now years and years and years. They've actually been holding on to the lifestyle. So the idea is, take it slowly. Take it easy on yourself. Remember, God is what? Is gracious. So what do you need to do? So the first point, which also is seen even in a lot of studies, is the best meal of the day is breakfast. Hello? They actually have seen that regardless of what you eat, people who skip breakfast generally gain weight. This is a fact. Hello? So therefore it means to start, you need to start your day well. Then there's also a confusion that we have there, where people think that there is what is called breakfast food. There's what you call an English breakfast. It is for the English people. Allow them to eat their breakfast. Huh? There's also an African breakfast. Hello? I mean, people eat different foods. So it doesn't mean that if you don't have cereals, this is the English breakfast. If you don't have cereals, if you don't have an orange, if you don't have grapes, then you are not having what? Breakfast. You can even eat leftovers. Hello? That's a breakfast. So what is needed is just your food needs to be what? Balanced. What do we say when you're saying that food is balanced? It means you need to have food from the major food groups. So for instance, you need to have a starch or a carbohydrate. You need to have a vegetable or a fruit. Then you need to have a protein. Then you also need to have oils in your diet. What are examples of breakfast that are not right? This is where you wake up and get a cup of tea and white bread and margarine. Lo and behold, you are just eating sugar, my brother and my sister. Because the tea, yes, You might say it's rooibos. Yes, it's rooibos. But yes, there are flavonoids there, beneficial. But it's still water colored with sugar. So there is sugar there, which is the greater component. Your bread, it's all going to be digested into what? Into sugar. Then margarine is just oil, energy. So therefore it means you just have a basin of sugar and oil. So what do you need to change that? So it means there are small things that you can do to change it. It doesn't mean you need too much money. People, actually, if you go deeper, you'd realize that God has made it so possible that anyone can have a balanced diet if there's no famine. So just to tweak that diet, it's a simple thing. So let's say you have your bread. You can still have your bread, but just add beans. You've added a what? A protein group. Add a banana, you have a whole balanced diet. So it means fruits are not just eaten in between meals. Or when you pass by and someone is selling fruits and they are so cheap, that's when you eat fruits. Hello? Fruits should be part of our regular eating plan. We should go into your homes and not find Coca-Cola, but find a bunch and tons of fruits. And fruits are always cheap. So therefore, the key point here is there is no breakfast food. Just plan a diet which is according to your resources, but which is what? Balanced. And even the foods that you like. Do you know people confuse? That's why maybe some people are afraid to change their lifestyles. Because they think they now need to know sophisticated recipes. Remember what I said, the stomach does not have what? Eyes. The stomach just knows nutrients. So it's you who are just being tantalized by seeing nice decorations, but they don't add any nutritional value. If the food is not nutritious, it's not nutritious. But how do you make it nutritious? Actually choose foods that are right. All right, what's the next point? Do not snack. So because people don't have a good breakfast, the tendency is they now are eating haphazardly. You have not eaten in the morning, you find someone eating some popcorn. You are now munching popcorn. Maybe it's now 10. Someone is drinking tea. You also want tea. Huh? So remember also that a diet is an eating what? Plan. And failing to plan is actually planning to what? To fail. So this idea that I just go to work. What are you going to eat? I'll see later. Hello. That is very dangerous. You should actually come home, leave home, knowing how you're going to eat your meals. And also you having planned and made provisions that you get the right meals. So what are the other challenges of snacking? So you realize that our stomach processes food in a batch style. So let me give a simple illustration. I think some of us have cooked soft porridge. So you put water, then you put the mealie meal. Then as you are putting more mealie meal, you realize that the paste becomes thicker and what? And thicker. So if you want that soft porridge, it means you need to add more what? Water. Otherwise, it becomes stiff. You are now having pap where at least you want porridge. So when you eat food, it gets into the stomach. It does not leave the stomach. Hello. This lie that I've just eaten and the food has disappeared. No. The food is there. The food stays in the stomach for about 3 to 4 hours. So while it's in the stomach, your food is being spinned into what? A paste that you call chyme. And that paste is it has to be in a certain consistency, because when you exit the stomach, there's a portion called the duodenum. So there is digestion that has to occur. So there's digestion of starch in the mouth, which has also to occur soon as we exit the stomach. So how the stomach works is it releases food in spurts. So it has spinned, then it's just far. Then it gets into the duodenum. Then enzymes work on it, then it passes. So the problem now of you eating and eating and eating and eating, it means the stomach should continue turning and turning and turning and turning until that time comes up. So that the people have actually found that food can remain in the stomach for about 13 hours. So you realize that you have days where even if you eat, your food just it's like locked inside. Hello. Or some days you actually have bouts or cycles of diarrhea that you do not know, because you are actually not giving the stomach time to what? To rest. Another key point, which is our fourth point, is we really need to eat foods that are not refined. So we talked about this thing that God created man what? Upright. But man has sought after many what? Inventions. So let me start. I think we always talk about the highly processed or the Coca-Cola. But let's get closer to home. Do you know that even fruits, if you blenderize them at home, the fruits that you blenderize and the fruits that you eat when you have not blenderized, you can only eat maybe 3 oranges. But when you blenderize, you can even have more than 3. So it means the amount is what? Is increased. People even get to the point where they're so fascinated about this shake, they even blenderize carrots. It's fine, you're trying to be nutritious. But also behold that that's also in higher what? Quantities. So for instance, with carrots, you can see now even yellowing of what? Of skin. Have you ever realized there are people who eat garlic to the point that when they pass you, you can even smell garlic? So we are now taking things that are right to extreme. So processing, people think processing is only done in the industry. But we also do mini processing at what? At home. So the whole idea is let's try to get it in its natural what? Form. So especially fruits, let's eat them as they are. There are times where it's not even necessary to buy a fruit juice. Eat the grapes as they are. Have you ever also realized that with all these fruit juice brands that are there, you'll be shocked that if you buy only grape juice from different companies, it has different tastes. Have you ever realized that? But how can the same grape have all those varied tastes? Because if you read in the ingredients, it says reconstituted. So it means each company has its own formula of reconstituting those fruit juices. So it's not the same. But what we are saying is let's go back to the actual source. And as we have it, then it's fine. But there's also an extreme. There are those ones who then say, I just want only to be eating oranges only. I know we like this buzzword called detox. And especially amongst Adventists, then we say Ellen White says this. But we thank God of technology. We can even search right now in our apps, E.g. White apps, search the word detox. You will never even find it. It's not there. But if we see these are things that are coming in the world, and we are now baptizing them into the what? Into the church. But you find it's also in line with those quick schemes, like what we're talking about, where someone is moving the whole day with a jug of spinach that has been blenderized, and it has been added maybe cinnamon or whatever, and you think you're going to live on that. That is also not right. Let's eat food that is balanced. The key issue here is there is no one food which has all the nutrients that you need. So you cannot survive, even if it is nice. We can say soybeans is nice, but soybeans on its own is dangerous because it doesn't have everything. You also need carbohydrates. So the key issue is to have a balance. And lastly, let's not go on this raw fruit approach. We are now reading a lot and we're saying, okay, maybe let's be like Adam and Eve. Were they really cooking? So let's go on the raw diet. There are certain things that just needs to be cooked for you to absorb them. Let me shock you with this one. Do you know that eating carrots that are raw does not make you even get the beneficial aspects of carrots? Do you know that? Because carrots contain carotenoids, which are converted into vitamin A in the body. But carotenoids are fat soluble, implying they need some fat for them to be absorbed in the body. So when you are munching a raw carrot, I'm sorry, you're just trying to be a rabbit, but let me tell you, you are not a rabbit. You are a human being. So if you are a human, try to just soften that carrot, put some oil and eat it. Then you can actually utilize it better. Right, so there are our carrots there that we're talking about. So how many do we need? So the greatest problem, most of our problems are just because we are not having enough fruits and and vegetables. So I mean, back here we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. We eat a lot of vegetables actually, but very few fruits. So I want to challenge you. Like what we said, we are not going back to the hunter-gatherer. Hello. As our approach is we want to do we want to follow God's plan. So the idea that you grew up not eating beetroot, it's your own story. It's only your mother who didn't expose you to beetroot. The idea that you grew up not eating asparagus or varied vegetables, I'm sorry. The world and its fullness belongs to what? To God. You are a child and a daughter of what? Of God. Eat. Hello. Learn. How do you eat varied foodstuffs? The key point is each food has its own unique taste. The problem is you eat meat and you want beans to taste like what? Like meat. Beans is beans. Meat is what? Is meat. So spinach is spinach and other vegetables are also other what? Vegetables. So therefore we need to allow our foods to actually indicate to us their unique taste. There we enjoy the what? The variety. So the other group are grains and what? And beans. So most people say that if you become vegetarian, you actually become malnourished. That's a lie. How many of us have seen foods being distributed during hunger? Who has ever followed like famines, Somalia? What foods do they get? Do they slaughter chicken? Do they slaughter even animals? What combination? What is the package? They're grains, particular grains. So they actually mix corn and what? And soya. So the combination of corn and soya is just as equivalent to meat in terms of protein, but it also has advantages that it doesn't have cholesterol. So it's actually a healthier option. I remember in Zim, I was working during the periods we had some famine around 2008, and children were malnourished and would screen them, measure them to actually find which one is severely malnourished, pump them up with this peanut paste. There's one that they call plum peanut. And you see even a child that was so much emaciated, just eating a paste of peanut butter, you see them starting to what? To balloon. So what am I trying to say? Remember our theme song is saying, great is thy what? Faithfulness. And the songwriter says, everything that I had what? I had needed. God, you have what? You provided for me. So God has made provisions of all those nutrients that we need. So with all this, there are many varieties and of these things. So let's also expose ourselves. It doesn't mean that if you like maize, eat maize. There's bulgur. There's even this yellow maize. Let's eat a variety of them. And let's not also lie to us that the traditional ones are the healthier. No, we need variety. Variety is the spice of life. Then also with the issue of modernization, we sometimes are tempted by sweets. But do you know that fruits, even if you dry them, they actually become also what? Sweet. I remember we used to do this project back then, and we were trying to educate people how to even dry mangoes. And when you dry them, they become so sweet. And some think, because you have dried them, you have lost nutrients. So let me tell you this. There are vitamins that are lost because of food preparation or drying. But there are others that even increase in amount as you are drying them. Remember, the fruit contains largely of what? Of water. So as it loses water, the concentration of the nutrients what? Increase. So things like your minerals, they will never be lost. They are inside. But what will be lost is just this fat soluble. So your vitamin C is the one that is usually lost, but other nutrients are still there. So let's also go for these dried foods. They are actually good for us. Let's try as much as we can to stay away from refined. You know, someone even says, I like white bread. Come on. It's almost like someone robbed you. Then they robbed you, then they remember, you need to go home. Here is bus fare. Because what they do is that sweet brand, they even sell it to make paint. It's used to make other things. So why are we making people richer? They should give us the whole grain as it is. Because we want it for our health. Right, let's come into oils. So, like I said, variety is the spice of life. These people who are olive oil gimmicks, too much of anything is also not what? Not good. And it doesn't mean that olive oil, yes, it is high in omega-3 fatty acids. But even if you eat, there are many sources of omega-3 fatty acids, even seeds. Do you know that? Like when you're buying bread, go for that seeded bread. Wow, that is loaded with nutrients. Yeah? So instead of you worried about olive oil, they put linseeds. Or even when you're buying cereals, don't just buy cereals that are the usual ones. Get those ones like granola. those that have many seeds say that you actually get more benefit. But there's also a side. I mean, people, because of money, they now want tinned peaches. But also realize that most tinned fruits even also have more energy. Then also coming to salad dressings. I mean, we said olive oil is nice, but too much of it might also not be good. Moderation is key. Then we know what we need is water. Water is actually the fluid of life. We need to drink more water, bearing in mind that 70% of our bodies comprise of water. But having said all that, if you are going to eat and sit, even if you eat healthy, you are not going to be healthy. Because the body was meant to what? To move. What do we need to do? We need to exercise daily. You just need to walk briskly. Hello? Just wake up. This issue that I cannot run, I'm not chasing. No, you're not chasing anything. You're just trying to fire up your heart. Eh? Just to kickstart your day. Eh? Just go and breathe fresh air. Before these cars start running, just get that fresh air. Take deep breaths. Eh? Because they are actually good for you. Then let's also stay from stimulants. Eh? People who love coffee. I mean, we are just laying a habit. Lo and behold, one day we would find ourselves maybe wanting to smoke. But with that, how many times should we eat a day? So remember, during these diets, we're talking about this trending thing called intermittent fasting, where they say that if you have periods of fasting, it has been seen that you can live longer. But the challenge is with this fasting, like what I said yesterday, people even set aside food. After the fast, I'll meet you. But what you could do is to try to have a simple lifestyle. I mean, there's this thing that you always say as Adventist, eat like a king in the what? In the morning, eat like a queen in the afternoon, but eat like a beggar in the what? In the evening. So the advantage is if you eat a very light meal, or even sometimes skip, you realize that usually we sleep around 8, 9, or 10, then maybe we have our meal 10 hours later. So that period, we actually have been fasting because we have a light what? Supper. And why do you need a heavy supper? It's just custom. Where you go and you have worked, but you want to sleep, that's when now you are having this mountain and peak of sun. The best meal should actually be the what? The morning meal. But also, with having said this, I mean, these changes should not really be drastic. Hello? Take them slowly. And while you are taking them slowly, remember that God is on your what? On your side. Once in a while you might fall, as we all do. Hello? Who says I've never sinned here? No one can even raise a head. Eh? There's a story even in the Bible where Christ is saying, who has never sinned, let him throw the what? The stone. One day you're going to be tempted. Eh? You eat something that you know you should not eat. But don't beat yourself too hard. Come back to God. Start again with what? With God. The more you are always working with God, one day you'd realize you'll be here now saying, the things that I used to do, I do them no more. So I've presented to you these 10 key principles about the Adventist health lifestyle, which has been proven to be very scientifically sound, which is a testimony of allowing people to live to their hundreds. How many are saying, God, by your grace, when I look at myself, I might not make this, but because your grace is there, Lord, today I want you to give me that strength. I want you to start this journey with me such that I can live longer. I can even get to be a testimony. You see, even if you look at that guy who was 97 and he was doing treatments, if you go and read his story, he did not start being so strict about his diet. Hello? It's only roundabout in his 50s. Then he gets that benefit even into 97. You know what I like about God? He's not a God of second chances. He's a God of many chances. Don't you want that power? Don't you want God to give you that ability? Why not rise as we close this session in prayer? Let us pray. Eternal Almighty Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for your word. We thank you for this blessed health message that you have given us as a church. But Lord, what we know is your biddings are always your enablings. Because we are not alone. We are with you. And you, God, will help us even live these lifestyle principles to a manner that we are also going to be amazed. Lord, grant us that belief, that faith in you, that through you we are more than conquerors. Be with us as we're going to part and go into our varied ways. In Jesus' mighty name I've prayed. Amen.